Hello, children. I welcome you to the first class of the session 21-22. We'll start with the first chapter, that is of history, understanding modern Indian history. So, in class 8, we shall be studying about the modern period. Let's get started. Let's try to understand. First of all, what is history? History is a branch of knowledge that records and analyzes the past events and happenings. Yes, history records the past events and happenings, and it is necessary to learn from the past events and happenings. A wise human learns from the past experiences of the ancestors. Today, we say that unity is strength. United we stand, divided we fall. It is always easy to break one stick, but it is difficult to break a bundle of sticks. Because we have learned this from our past, from the history, that the Britishers were able to conquer India, rule over us for over 200 years because the Indian kings were not united, they were disunited. And then the Britishers also played the policy of divide and rule to create differences and tensions amongst the different Indians, the different groups, and this is how they were successful in ruling over India for over 2 centuries. So, in history, basically, we learn about the past events, the past happenings. So, it is a branch of knowledge that records and analyzes past events and happenings. Now, of course, past is very, very long. So, we have actually divided the past into three parts. In class 6th, you read about the ancient period. In class 7th, you read about the medieval period. In class 8th, you shall be reading about the modern period. So, for our ease, we have divided history into three periods: ancient period, medieval period, and modern period. This division of history into three periods is known as periodization of history. This is known as periodization of history. Now, if I talk of history, we have divided history into three periods. It is for our ease. Now, modern period. See, modern period in Europe began in the 16th century. And if I talk of India, it began much later. Right, it began somewhere in the 18th century after the death of Aurangzeb. If I talk of the modern period, see, in Europe, the modern period meant the ideas of liberty, fraternity, democratic ideas, these were widespread. But if I talk of India, then the Britishers did not allow Indians to enjoy liberty, freedom, etc. So, while in other countries, modern period emphasized on liberty, freedom, humanity, India was under the colonial rule. India was under the Britishers. Various types of freedom were restricted. Indians were not allowed to enter the areas of the Britishers. The Indians could not enter the compartments of the Britishers. It was written in the compartments that the dogs and the Indians are not allowed. So, the modern period in India did not mean freedom. It did not mean liberty. It did not mean democracy. So, many historians suggest that the British period should not be called the modern period because in India, Indians were not given freedom during this period. Rather, they were struggling. So, this period should be called the colonial period. This is the point of view of various historians. Now, there was one Scottish uh, historian and philosopher. He said that Indian history should be divided into Hindu history, Muslim history, that is the ancient history, Hindu history, then Muslim history, and the British history. Don't you think it's wrong? I mean, first of all, discussing religion. Second of all, were there not other religions which existed at that point of time? There were other religions, right? And besides that, the way he had put up his view is that India was backward in the Hindu period, then in the medieval period, that is the Muslim period, as suggested by him. When the Turks, the Afghans came at that point of time, India was very very uncivilized, and then the British period was necessary to help India groom, to help India develop, to help India become civilized. So his point of view is very very prejudiced, very very biased, right? So, as discussed, up till now, history is a branch that records, analyzes past events and happenings. For our ease, we have divided history into three parts: ancient period, medieval period, and modern period. However, modern period in India started in the 17th century, and many historians are of the opinion that it should be called the colonial period because India was under the British rule. India was subjugated, right, by the Britishers, and they imposed their will on us. We were the subjects under the Britishers. They subjugated our country for their own interest. They took away all the fine quality of raw material from India. They supplied finished goods to India. They exploited the resources of India. They took away wealth from India. So it should be known as the colonial period because India was subjugated under the British rule. Now, if I talk of dates in history, of course, the dates are very, very important, right? There are certain dates which are, which are like landmark in the history. They are the red letter days. For example, 15th August is a red letter day in the Indian history. Now, see, we have to make comparison. Which incident happened first, right? Which incident happened before? Which incident happened afterwards? For example, if I say, uh, you know, first, A king, A king say killed B king, and then second I say B king attacked A king. How is it possible that A king killed B king, and I'm saying that B king attacked A king? So it has to be in a proper chronological order. Chronological order, as in, you should tell the events, according to the dates, according to the chronological order, the way they occurred, right? So that it's easy to understand, it's easy to decipher, and it's easy to tell who was wrong, who was right. It's easy to relate, it's easy to find reasons, logics, and to connect. So, history should always be studied in a proper sequence of dates. Yes, it should be studied in a chronological order according to the dates. However, there are certain changes which take place over a period of time. See, Rome was not built in a day. That's a famous saying. Similarly, some changes do not occur in a day, right? So they take, time. So some changes take place over a period of time. They do not have a specific date, and that's fine. Now, see, if I'm a historian and I'm interested in, say, I'm interested in culture. So, or say I'm interested in, say, socio-cultural, okay, history. Then what would be important for me is to find the date when Shahjahanabad was found, to find a date, when certain festival was celebrated for the first time. That's important for me. And now, if you are a historian and you are say a political historian, that means you're more interested in politics, then you would be more interested in knowing when, say, Akbar captured Kashmir, right? So it depends from historian to historian. which date she feels important. It depends upon their genre, upon what they are actually emphasizing on. Now, if I talk of the British history, of course, at that point of time, the people learned the art of writing. The Britishers were also skillful in writing, and they also believed in preserving all the documents in the archives. Today you all know archives, right? You all use the devices and the phones. It has that segment, that folder, archive folder. So they also believed archive is a room, basically. It was a room in the earlier times where they used to keep the documents which were no longer in use. So they believed in having written documents, and they believed in preserving those documents. Today we have those documents, and those documents are so very important for us to study about the history. They are so very necessary to understand history. They have served as a means to understand the colonial rule better. With this, I wind up the chapter for the day. We would continue the rest in the next session. Till then, take very good care of yourselves, your kids and kins. Wash your hands, maintain social distancing, be very, very careful. Thank you and have a great day ahead.